Hello, this is Miss T. This is going to be really, really random because I think it's 2 in the morning. I wasn't feeling well today, so I slept most of the day. And when I woke up, I still wasn't feeling well. Actually, I felt worse. But why did I make myself suffer all day long? Because sometimes you forget. If I would have just got, when I first started feeling bad, if I just would have just said a prayer and asked God to remove whatever was going on, I'm sure he would have did it that right then, instead of me waiting till the evening to ask him. And now and I've been fine since, because we always have to have it. We always do it our way first, I guess. Well, I usually am not like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm I have to learn lessons that I still, whatever lessons that I still need to go through. God wants me to trust him with everything, which I know, which I do, but I don't know if I'm I don't know. But anywho, like I said, this is going to be really, really random. Well, not random, because I really know what things I want to talk about, that I don't know if people are going to understand some of them or accept some things. But I've been on YouTube. I explained what I came on here for, but I did start going into chats and meeting people, and interacting with people. And what I've learned, I don't think people. Okay, this is the first thing that I want to say. I think there's a lot of mental illness on YouTube, whether people want to admit it or not. Because I have never, and maybe it's just because it's all compacted into one area, one place. Mental illness is all over the world, but you don't see it. Like, there's always one person in your city that everyone knows because they walk around and talk to themselves or do certain things, so but when you see it all the time, and when it's just like, do other people see what you see? Some things are just not normal at all. And I'm not saying anything bad about anyone, because I've met some great people on here. I've made some friendships on here that I would say are actual friendships. No, we have not met in person. But the rapport, the connection, the interaction that I feel, and it's only a few people, it's real, it's genuine. I have a friend on here that I would be, and they know who I'm talking about, because I had just shared this with them. If they ever needed me at any moment, I would be there for them, and that's just how I feel. Like, you can tell how people are just by their aura when you come on here. and you first interact with people in the group or whatever, most of the time you will click more with one or two than, with the rest, because you're not, I mean, that's just what happens. But this person is like, I have, like, I see her aura, and it has never, if people know what I mean about aura, because I've talked about this before, but people probably already think I'm crazy. I don't care. But I see people's aura, and that's the light that they give from themselves, off themselves, that you can feel it or you can see it. It's not a light that you really see, but if you know what I mean, you can see it. And hers is never, it's always bright. She never has a bad thing to say about anyone. She's funny. She's just a good, overall, a good person. Very intelligent. I can tell that she, like, I'm one of those, if you talk in a chat and you start talking about stuff that I don't, or use a word that I'm not familiar with, I will get out of the chat and go look it up. I need to know what, because I'm curious. I just want to learn. I like to learn. So if you're saying something and I don't know what, I'm going to go find out. So I can tell that she does a lot of reading, and so maybe I just think she's really like me. And so yeah. But back to the mental illness, and I'm including myself. I'm not talking, because I'm not talking about it. I'm including myself, because I know there's some issues that I have. But what I'm saying is, when I'm feeling down or going through something, I want to find a light, find something to lift me up, to change the mood that I'm in. Some people, or maybe it's just that some people like to argue or fight, or it's fun, I guess. I personally do not like loud noises. I do not like conflict, because I don't want to, some things are just irrelevant to me, or not necessary. I'm not going to argue with you about stuff that cannot be proven, or that you feel I don't feel that it's necessary. I don't care what you feel. I'm not saying I don't care what you think about me, so I'm not going to argue with you to convince you that what you're saying is not me, because I know who I am. So and there's a lot of that. It's like, you guys keep saying we're all strangers, we don't know one another, but actually you've connected. If you've been on this app for years and years, even though you have not seen that person, or may not have seen them in person, you still have connected with them, especially if you talk to them off, behind the scenes, or whatever you call it. You do have a connection with them. So, but what I'm saying is, if you just look at life in a different way, sometimes that'll just make a difference in your life. there's just some things that are not necessary to me. I don't um I don't I don't fight over men because, well, I don't I haven't fought over men because I haven't been in a relationship so long. It doesn't, I guess that really doesn't count for me. But to fight over, to actually physically confront a woman about a man that belongs to neither one of you, because if he did, neither one of you would be fighting over him. He'd be belonging to one or the other. And I'm not saying I don't have emotions or feelings or ties, but I don't allow myself to go there. It's not necessary anymore. My goal, my path is somewhere else. And then the world, I live here, so I can't get away from it, but God says to be in the world, not of it. So I don't have to, just because I live here doesn't mean I have to indulge in anything that I don't want to. I don't have to, go out and do stuff that may be harmful to me or others. I don't have to indulge in those things. So I just pick my battles. And they usually are not battles. They're just with little fights or disagreements, because I'm not going to argue with anyone. Do you find arguing with people draining? Does anybody ever win an argument? Does anybody ever say, yeah, you're right? I mean, maybe in the real world, so-called the real world. But if you're on here and you're in a chat and you're arguing, does anybody say, oh, you're right? Or do you just continue? And what gets me is, like I said, I don't like noise. And I've learned some things on here. I'm not going to claim it, but I'm because when you were born in certain times, you weren't being diagnosed with certain things because they didn't know about it. So I used to think that I was just strange. I didn't do things that kids. I mean, I played and stuff, but I was interested in watching shows that were for grown people. Or I didn't like loud noises. I didn't like crowds. I still don't. And I don't like to look at certain things. If I look at certain things, they can affect me in a weird way. But like I said, I just thought I was strange. And I'm not going to claim anything. If there was a diagnosis, I've lived it all my life, so there's no need to focus or dwell on that. But I don't know. I sat in a chat, and I guess two people had a disagreement, and they started to go first. Is that talking over each other thing gets to me first, because it's like I can't hear both of your voices are intertwining, so I can't tell who said what and who did whatever. And then so you're trying to over talk or have the people hear your version, so you get louder and then they get louder, and then and don't let it be a group of people up and they're all arguing, and there's 6 of them and they're all screaming. That is the worst noise in the world. Well, in the YouTube world. And I'm like, I've only been on a panel twice with no arguing. So I don't really know what people who are on the panel, what they see and what they hear. I don't know if they don't hear themselves or hear the other person, or know that, I know they know that they're being loud, because I'm thinking they're being loud on purpose. But that is the most irritating sound. I just have to leave, because it's, and then I don't understand it that you're screaming and hollering about something on YouTube that doesn't have anything to do with you outside of YouTube. And so I don't think it's really that, I don't think you really are that invested in the situation. It just sounds like people are just like to come on here and scream. Maybe there's something else going on, and the coming on here and screaming gets out something that you're really dealing with. Maybe it's someone else you want to scream at, but you can't. So you come on here and scream at, and what's it hurt? Scream at somebody you don't even know. You can scream at somebody who lives in another country that you're never going to see. So, that can relieve stress, I suppose. It doesn't do anything, but to me it would be stressful. But like I said, I can't, everybody's different. Everybody's made up different. Everybody's going through something different. Because of sin, everything's intertwined. Like, we were meant to be perfect, not perfect. We were meant to be in the likeness of God. But because of sin, DNA has been twisted, and things have been introduced, and we have all kinds of thoughts, and people who don't think the same way as normal people, and they go, it's just all kinds of things that are going on. People were born with, I've had several people tell me they don't think they have a conscience, that they were born without one. And for someone to say that is very scary, because if you don't have a conscience, that means that you would do anything. I mean, that you don't, it means nothing to harm someone or try to discredit someone, or tell a lie on someone and get them locked up, or tell a lie on someone that can physically get them harmed, and you care nothing about it. It doesn't affect you like that. I had a friend like that. She's one of the persons, we were friends years ago, and she told me that she didn't think she had a conscience. Now, when she said it to me, I thought, I was like, oh, wow. But I thought that she was telling me because she felt that it was strange, that it was some, that it was not a good thing. And she was just, you know how you go to a therapist and you just, so her telling me that, I thought, well, at least she recognizes it, and maybe she can try, or I don't know, but the things that she did, and I could, yeah, she didn't have a she didn't have a conscience. So when you're in the world and people, so the first thing is, I had to learn that people will lie for no reason, and just the lie will be so convincing and flows off the tongue that you don't even, you couldn't possibly, that it couldn't possibly be a lie. And I have to remember that people can, that's just, that there's just some people who can lie. Sometimes they believe their own lies. So I have to understand, and that's what gets people caught up. You can tell a lie and people would be like, oh, because it just comes out so convincing. And it's a blatant lie. Lies have gotten people fired, divorced, jumped, have caused them to harm themselves, and lies will get people unalived. And that I could never, and here we go back to the conscience, I could never live with myself. If I told a lie on someone that I knew was a blatant lie and it caused them to be unalived, or I don't know what, I could never, they'd put me, I'd have to, I don't know, my whole life would be messed up. I couldn't imagine having that on my conscience day after day. Sometimes I wonder if, because when you read in the Bible, as we get closer in the chapters, like when it's starting to tell you about what to expect closer to the end of the world, it's almost like, to me, maybe you should leave the city. And I think I've heard some people say that, leave and go somewhere where there's less people roaming around, wreaking havoc. You can't, because the concentration that you need is almost like you need to be still. And you can't be still when there's a bunch of confusion and, thoughts and people's different things in their heads and their voices and what comes out their mouths and all that, you can't function, I guess. And I'm just talking about myself because I don't know what other people do. I don't know how other people feel. I don't know what other people have gone through. So I don't try, even if someone is like my friend, I still didn't judge her based on the things that she did, because I don't know what was going through her mind or what she's been through in her life. And so, and like I said, because I will always say that we are all sinners and we all fall short, and we cannot judge because there's only one judger. So I try to be understanding that especially if this person, if it wasn't so sinful, that maybe that it wouldn't have touched this person in this type of way. Um, and you know how a person, like when they do, I would take serial unalivers, for instance. You know how people study because they want to know what is in the mind of what makes these people do this, what makes these people have no thought about it. It's like tying their shoe to take a life. And so they try to get into the mind so that they can get a clear, picture or what to look for in these type of people. They want to say that, I don't know where they come up with this profile. Maybe they've asked questions, or they start off as bedwetters and they torture animals and they set fires, or the three things that they usually say about them when they were children. These are the things that they did. But I'm pretty sure a child, I'm sure there's some exceptions. You can wet the bed and not end up doing those type of things, but I don't know, maybe these are combinations of things, I suppose. But I believe it's due to sin. When something evil enters, and it deteriorates what's normal. You come out with different mindsets. They always say that you mix this gene with this gene, or you have too much of this and you have too much of that, you come out with a Down syndrome, or you come out, maybe they don't know what's missing, what chromosome, whatever that makes a person what they are or what they do. I know that there's some people who are born, they can do, like being a coroner. They're able to do that because whatever they have in them, it doesn't bother them to do that. Me, I never, even though I wanted to be one. I don't know if I've told that story, but when I was little, that's what I wanted to. My first thing I said I wanted to be for years was a coroner. And I was a kid, and that's what I wanted to be, a coroner. And then my second thing was an FBI agent. Actually, I did apply, but that'll be a different story. This world is just raveled into a whole bunch of different, just a whole bunch of different personalities. I don't know. Some people how do you get two people? How do you find another person just like you? How do you run across a person that's just like you? There was the Malvos. I forget what they were the Hillside Stranglers. I do believe they might have been cousins. So maybe that's not a good example. Maybe that was in their DNA. I don't know. But there were two people that went out unaliving people together. But even though they were related, how do you have a conversation with someone to know that they enjoy doing the same thing that you like to do? That weird, sick thing that you like to do, they like to do it too. How do you find someone that, and what kind of conversation do you have with someone to know that y'all both are, that's what you both like to do? There's some other crazy things that, like the story of the man who dropped his friend off at the emergency room because these two sick-minded individuals were out having practicing bestiality with horses, and his friend was killed, unalived by the horse. And he, of course, because he wasn't going to stay and explain to the doctors why his friend is now gone and what they were doing, he dropped him off on in the parking lot or whatever. But he still got caught because they looked at the cameras and found his car or whatever. But how did they decide, them two people have that same, have that in their heads? It's like it's dangerous to have a one ideal. Well, yeah, we know that because that's where we get, the Ku Klux Klan and all these different things, is because these people are all thinking the same thing. But it had to be started by one or two. Had to say, look, these people are going to be free, and we didn't want them here in the first place, and now they're going to be free, and they're going to have kids, and then they're going to take over. We got to do something. We've got to keep them under control so that they don't spread out, or we have to keep fearing them so that they don't try to get us or whatever. And it worked, because they terrorized people of color from then till now, still terrorizing. Speaking of, like I said, this is going to be, I don't know if I said random, but it's going to be all over the place. Like, I don't want to hear anything about the Diddy trial, because it's all over the place. It's been talked about since this thing started or whatever, and I'm sick. It's just, like I said, the more bad things you put in your head is what's going to stay with you. Whatever you put in your head the most is going to be there with you. So I don't want to keep watching a bunch of horrible bad things so that subconsciously my brain is being stimulated, and at night I'm having horrible dreams, being chased around by murderers, because that's all I see and hear all day long. So anyways, but I find it fascinating that he talked out against wrongs of the white man. He talked against Trump, and he talked about against others, and what they're doing to black people, and how even though he was rich and other black people were rich. Like I always say, they still hate you. They don't like you either. He talked out about that. And it's ironic now to me that he's sitting in jail with all these charges and these RICO things. RICO. And I'm going to have, because I thought a RICO charge, well, whatever. And I don't really know. And then I don't see any evidence of what they're talking about. I see that he has no morals, that he is a sexual deviant, but I don't, unless they're bringing out stuff later, I don't know. But at this very point, the only thing that he's guilty of is being a deviant and immoral. You can't make a grown person do anything unless you have a weapon or some type of whatever. If they have free will and free reign, and you just tell them this is what we're going to do, and they do it, they can't say you made them. If someone comes up to me, and that's just exactly like how things get started, because there's always going to be a strong-minded person and weak-minded. So of course the strong is going to take over the weak-minded. So if you get a person that says, let's go rob a bank, if the other people around that person are weak-minded people, followers, kind of timid or whatever you want to say, they're going to follow behind what that strong person, what they say and do. So we need to start, if you want to you need to build your child up at home. That's always been the number one thing, to be a leader and not a follower. Because I knew if I was in a group of people and they said, let's go steal candy, y'all go right ahead. I will be at home. I'm walking home because I'm not getting in trouble. And of course, I was the little Miss Goody Two Shoes. I have never. Back then it did hurt. When you're little, you don't want to be teased about anything. But I learned that that wasn't such a bad thing when I got older. And then when I got older, and that my cousins and them people were doing crime and writing checks and going to jail and once I was Miss Little Goody Two Shoes, because I didn't want to do that. So call me Goody Two Shoes, add a glove and a hat or whatever, I don't care, because I didn't want to live a life of crime, because I didn't want my name associated with a name that I couldn't be able to get a decent job, because I don't believe in taking other people's things, because I don't want nobody, well, not just because I don't want anybody to take mine, it's just because they're not mine, so I'm not going to take them. So yeah, I was Little Miss Goody Two Shoes, and it is so, for me to say that, I need to tell this story. I met a guy who was much younger than me, and I could tell immediately that we were not compatible. And so one day, I mean, I wasn't really looking for, I mean, he should already know, because I never, if we talked, it's because he reached out to me. I never reached out to him. I didn't have anything to talk to him about, because his whole conversation was about me and him getting together, and we weren't going to get together. So I didn't have anything to talk to him about. So anyways, one night he accidentally called me, and he was having a conversation. I could tell it was a woman, and I could tell she was Caucasian. So I just listened for a while, whatever. And then I hung up and went on back doing whatever I was doing. So the next day he called me. I just used that as, okay, I can say this, so don't you ever, So I said, did you know that you called me last night? And he was like, I didn't know that. And I told him the whole situation. So I used that, and I said, and so don't ever call me again. So I blocked him. And when I tell you, I blocked him and forgot about it. For some reason, 6 months later, when I unblocked his phone number, my phone rang. And it was him, my phone rang. It was him. And boy, did he go off on me. My black card needs to be taken, because I've never been to jail. And the white girl that he was with is more black than me, because she did go to jail, and I've never had it what is it called? I never had to an encounter with the police. And so I was like, wow, these are only things that are for black people? Was he telling me I wasn't black because I didn't do things to have to be encountered by the police? Or was he telling me that I wasn't black because I wasn't hard enough? I wasn't quite sure. First of all, I was tripping how I just unblocked your number a half hour ago or 15 minutes ago, and you're ringing my phone. So was it by coincidence that you rang my phone, or was you calling my phone every day for 6 months? I'm not sure. But, I wasn't, in his eyes, I wasn't black. I didn't act black, I guess. That's what it was. But who cares what he was saying, because and then after that I found out that the reason why he moved to the city that I'm from is because he was wanted where he was from, or they were for shooting someone, or I don't know if wait a minute, did he unalive the person, or did he just, I think he shot him in the face. So I really don't really know the whole story, but that's why he was here in the first place. So I think I dodged all kinds of bullets. Woo. Yeah. God watches over babies and dummies. But so I've had strange encounters, but I guess I'm like, how am I not black? I'm the darkest one in my family. Well, I take that back. I'm not. But you can't mistake me from being black. So I don't know if what you're trying to insinuate about black people, but I know plenty of black people who have never been to jail, who have never had an encounter, a bad encounter with the police. So I guess that you trying to hurt my feelings by saying that, and by saying that the Caucasian girl that you were with was more black than me because she's had encounter with the police, did not hurt my feelings at all, sir. Thank you. I've had just, people are just crazy, silly, say stupid stuff. And I can also tell that I dodged you sound like to me that you're unhinged, and that I could possibly have been in a very bad situation had I decided to give you a chance. But anywho, so yeah, so in the news you can get a whole bunch of different topics that you can talk about, but it's ironic, it's sad, it's just the things that we choose to look at in the news, and that becomes the biggest topic of the world. We're not talking about all the missing children that need to be looked for, or why there are so many of them, and why. This is what I don't understand. Please help me understand. We've had so many missing kids in the media. Wouldn't you take extra precaution to keep your child safe? There should never be a child by themselves standing anywhere, by walking to school, by nothing. Don't give them the opportunity. Don't let these crazed maniac people, you're giving them bait. I mean, you take extra time. If you have to take your child to school, and then you tell that child, I'm coming to pick you up, don't you leave that school ground so I come pick you up. No, you cannot walk to the store to get some candy. No, you can't go ride your bike down the street. No, you can't go spend the night over. So we need to be more mindful. It's like you just still handing your kids away. Now I can see if they came into your home, broke into your home and took your child. I mean, that's unfortunate. That is more scary. That's more deliberate, and that's really scary because this person targeted, the home or whatever. But you have to, when you see things that are a pattern, you have to change. You have to change what's going on. These kids are being snatched. You don't know what's happening to your child. You don't know if they're still on this earth or there's whatever. You have to be the one. The community has to be the one. Everyone has to be together in on this. I have a couple of uploads about how to keep kids safe, how to keep women safe, what not to do, what to do. But yeah, kids should not ever be alone on the street. They shouldn't be alone at home. There shouldn't be no more latchkey kids. Nothing. We are living in evil. We're not even going to say dangerous times. We're living in evil times. These are the evilest things are happening. And we can't think the way that we thought 20 years ago. this is, it's almost like lockdown. Like you have to change your whole, probably the way that of your thinking or what you were raised on. You have to switch that all the way around, because there is no there is no, this world is so full of, Satan is everywhere. Satan's soldiers is everywhere. And he's getting clever, more clever. You can't defeat Satan and his soldiers without God. There's no way. If you don't have God, you're not going to defeat him. He is the, he tricked, he tricked us off the streets. He tricked Eve off the streets. That's why we're here today. So you cannot win with him. You can't win against him. And he's just going around wreaking havoc in every corner of the world. Every corner. Nothing. There's not a blemish anywhere. There's blemishes everywhere. There's not a pure piece of nothing anywhere. So yeah, it's scary. It's depressing. I understand why people have vices. You know, how you don't want to think about all the things that are going on or what bad things are in your life, and so you have all these vices to help you forget, or for that moment anyways, until the next time you know. So you just, life is depressing, because I was like, especially if you don't believe there's something beautiful later on, that I have, this is what I have to endure, and then I'm gone. Have you ever seen that? I've been watching Good Times lately. I don't know why. But do you remember the episode where Florida was won the cleanest or whatever apartment, and they cleaned up Ned the Wino? When she said, his wife said, I would know him anywhere. That's my husband. And she said, and I this is the first time I don't mind taking him home with me. And his face dropped. He said, home with her? Did she say I had to go home with her? Why did I think of that? I thought of that because I was going to mix it in with something else, but now I forgot what I was mixing it in with. So anyways, yeah, there's nothing, I mean, there's things that can make you happy. You can go on, vacations and see the world. If you have the means to do that. Maybe gardening makes you happy. I would love to garden. I would love to have a garden, but I don't like the idea of me getting in my garden and there's snakes and mice and whatever else out there. Yeah, that keeps me from gardening. I like to fish, but I haven't been fishing in a long time. I really don't know anybody. None of my friends fish, and how I started fishing, I was dating someone who was an avid fisher, and so that's why. But I don't know anybody who fishes, and I would never go fishing alone or any of that. So, yeah. But I'm not making it, I know it sounds doom and gloom that I always talk about things that are everything is so bad, and which it is, but you can find solace, you can find peace amongst all of the uh, bad things in the world. You can find that. Um, I'm just saying, I think if you sit down and just decide about things that are just not important, that are not necessary, that are not that big of a deal, and wipe them out of your thought pattern, that it would release some of the stress or whatever, because stress is a killer, a big killer. So yeah, I just decide what's not important for me to care about, what's not. Yeah, people are going to talk about you, and hopefully, if you have if people know your character, like, this is what I try to do, because if there's enough people who will vouch, even if you don't even know the person, this is what people, because they like to get stuff. I call my cousin this. She loves to be the first person to spread the bad news. She don't even care if she got it. She don't care if she got it right or anything. She just wants to be the bearer of bad news. Now, I knew who my father was, but I've never been around him. And me and my cousin used to be close when we were little, but we weren't anymore. And it was a good thing, because, yeah. But so I never talked to her. I never have. We didn't have a group chat where we talked every once a week or whatever. We never talked. But she was the first. She called me to let me know that my father had passed away. How she found that out, I don't know, but why she thought that she should tell me and not my mother or my grandparent or any other person other than her, whom I don't ever talk to, yeah, she decided she should be the one to tell me that. So whatever. So when we just don't indulge, we don't, let that keep going. So when people come to you and say, "Did you hear? I heard so and so," the first thing I do is, you don't know if that's true or not. People will tell a lie. They'll spread gossip. You don't even know. So end it right there. Even if it's just with you. That's what I say, because especially if I know the person, because you can tell if you know somebody's character and you've known them for a long time, and someone tries to tell you something that you would think is out of their character, you would just say, that doesn't sound like something that they would do or say. I don't know. You know how somebody probably started that rumor, somebody that doesn't like them, just that. It makes people mad too, because there's some people who live to gossip or just love it. So if you cut them down immediately, they're not gonna bring you anything else. Then it'll get spread around. Well, she ain't dying, and people are not gonna come to you with that craziness. But that's all it takes. It's not to have a good listening ear when people want to spread lies or spread. It could be true, but why do you want to spread somebody's downfall or spread somebody's whatever is going on in their life? Why would you want to what type of person are you that you would get accidentally come upon something that is going on with someone in their life, and it might be something serious. Why would you want to put that out there? Why would you want to spread it? Because you're a bad person, or what? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. You're hateful, you're jealous, you're unhappy with yourself. It couldn't be anything good about why you want to put that out, put bad stuff out on people. So it would have to be something that makes you think, makes you go So anyways, that's what I try to do. I don't want to hear it. I don't care if so and so's whatever. Talk about, what are you hiding? What secrets do you have? Have you told any of those? Because then when something turns around and somebody says something bad about them, oh boy, they're screaming to the mountains about it. It's not true. So you should also think before you speak, and think about how you would feel if people were saying things about you, even if they were true, because it's nobody's business what you've got going on, as long as you're not trying to affect other people with it, or it doesn't affect other people. We don't need to know anybody personal, business that, what. I'm not a doctor, so me knowing someone has something deadly is not doing me any good, because I can't cure them and I can't help them. So telling me is nothing, or telling the next person who is not an MD is not doing anything but being facetious, hateful, devilish, and all those good words, good bad words. If people just use their brain and put themselves in other people's shoes, maybe some of that stuff would curve, and people would worry about their own selves and what they got going on, instead of trying to figure out whose stuff and who can they tell and let the whole world know, and such and for on. And I think this upload is going to be very, very long, but like I said, I just woke up because I wasn't feeling well, so now I'm not sleepy, and so I'm just talking about different stuff. I don't even know if I'm going to upload it. I'm just talking. What else have I been listening or seeing? And I had a debate with myself if I was going to see the movie Sinners, because I really didn't know what it was about. And I don't like to watch movies that deal with the Bible, because people make up stuff. And if I want to know the truth, I just look in the Bible. But something kept, first of all, it was so divided. Some people were like, oh, I hate that movie. I didn't like that movie at all. And then the other people would be, that was such a good movie. I was like, dang, there was no indecisive. Oh, it was okay. It's just either they hated it or they liked it. And that piqued my interest, which is probably a bad thing, because if my first mind was not to look at it, then I should, But anywho, I did watch it. And I had so many different emotions. And when I say different, varied. I understood. Now I have to watch if I'm very interested in learning or understanding what a movie is trying to tell me. I watch it more than one time. I think I watched this movie 3 or 4 times, because the first time I watched it, I wasn't really looking for the understanding, but I seen different things that piqued my interest. So when the second time I watched it, I was like, oh. Then by the time I watched it, I understood exactly the different things in that movie. And I wondered why that movie came out at this point in time. Also, that struck, that was like a deliberate, it was like a deliberate thing. But also, I want to know how Cat Williams knew that 2025 was going to be the downfall of Hollywood. Did someone, how come he was only privy to that information? Or maybe he was just the first person. I don't know, but how did he know? How did he know that? I also want to know and this has nothing to do with whom I voted for or who, whatever. I want to know how Trump got into office, only based on the fact that he has been impeached, or they tried to impeach him. I think it was twice. He's been convicted of sexual something, sued for that. Isn't he a felon? How did he get into office? I didn't even know he was running. So are you saying the world they just tell us what they want to hear, but the whole format or the whole government is already lined up the way they want it, and that's just how it goes? Like Trump, even if they would have convicted him and he would have went to jail, he still would have been president. He would have been running the country behind bars. Yeah, that's what I want. Just like the whole, whatever I thought about what is coming to light, that it's not true, that we've been living under a lie our whole lives. Well, we knew that, I guess, but there were just some things I wouldn't believe that could go on, and they do go on. But I guess I'm going to end this because it's gone on long enough. I just say I couldn't just be out here without the knowledge of the Lord, because it's I would be afraid to do anything. I would be afraid to leave my home. It's just depressing. It's just, so knowing that the love of the Lord gives you peace and joy. I just hope that other people can find peace and joy. And I'm going to tell you, only can find that peace and joy with the Lord. You're not going to find it in the bottom of that bottle. You're not going to find it at the end of that joint, that cigarette. You're not going to find it after the end of that orgasm. No, you're not going to find it anywhere but with the Lord. But anyways, I hope everyone stays safe and finds peace. And yeah, so until next time.